We will be kicking off this afternoon with a series of fireside chats, right? So quite short, sweet, very informal, and we have three pretty amazing men, opinion leaders in their respective fields. So I do hope you will enjoy this little series. So the first fireside chat, I will be the one to host, and my companion on stage will be Fredis Bikovs, the director of Riga Investment and Tourism Agency. So yes, please come join me on stage, and a round of applause as we kick off, you know, and your applause sends the message to those who are still chit-chatting and networking. So yeah, that's their cue as well to join in. So, how are you feeling today?
Very good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we really have quite a lot of questions. Well, you know, I speak like I have at least bipolar disorder. There are many in this head. Well, you know, Fredis, you joined as the director of Rita. If I can just, you know, use the abbreviation, right? Rita, the Riga.
As long as everyone knows what it means.
Yeah, so, which stands
name.
for. Do you know what Rita is? No, good.
You see, they
would
think that we're speaking about some Rita.
Yes, and that's not a girl or a lady, you know, or a woman or your grandma. No, Rita is Riga Investment and Tourism Agency. And please remember this one, because in the days to come, in the months to come, you will see more of Rita. And so Fred is here. He joined as the director of Rita. Was it March? Sometimes spring?
Yeah, March, middle
right.
March.
And to some of you, this face might be quite new, right? Maybe you've never seen this person. And I do claim that this person is important now in our startup ecosystem. So Fredis, please explain where you come from, a little bit of your background, the path to being the director of Rita. Yeah.
Yeah, well, this is actually my first job in public sector. So I always was in the private sector. And previously to that, I mostly worked in IT and outsourcing companies and so-called global business service companies. I've been a manager of every Latvia and Runway BPO. I've been for a while in banking and actually also in startups, but I'm a bit confused at what point you actually stop calling a company a startup, because I used to work for Volt. So I'm not sure if you still guys called it that way. So I must say I'm quite lucky, because I had very diverse experience, both in terms corporate cultures, in terms nationalities I worked with. My career started in a very Nordic and Swedish company, and most of my customers were coming from Sweden, Norway, and Finland. But then I had a customer who was Netflix. Everyone knows Netflix probably, and we helped them launch their operations when they started in Nordic market, and that completely changed my world, because mentality-wise, corporate culture-wise, it's something completely different, both in terms of communication, in terms of speed, everything. So, but and it was extremely hard experience. Americans do work in a quite different way than Nordic people, and maybe what we're used to. But now I'm very grateful for that experience. I think I had a bit of everything, and yeah, and then Volt was, in that sense, from corporate culture experience, also really great experience, because the speed, how fast you need to make decisions, how fast you move on, are extremely high. We had situations where our volumes were growing during lockdown 50% a week. So you imagine the speed you have to go. And now when joining Riga Investment and Tourism Agency, of course, it's a bit of a challenge, because the speed in public services, in public organizations, is much slower, because you need to follow a lot of different legal procedures.
I hear you. Been there, done that. Not particularly happy about the speed.
Yeah, but I hope that I mean, legally speaking, there is so much things we can do. But I hope that at least on cultural level, we could build a more modern organization.
Right. And then if we establish the chronology, right? So sometime in March you joined, and then we noticed, well, I did, that around June, July, the new strategy was adopted by the agency. And I opened that strategy, aside from being very well written and actually pleasant to look at, I noticed how many times the word startup was mentioned. Do you have any clue? You might have, I hope, right? But anyone in the audience, just give me a random number. How many times the word startup was mentioned? 46.
So you're actually sitting and counting.
Well, yeah, such a stalker as I am, that's in my nature. But yes, I mean, I love numbers, and I was very curious about, well, the document is quite comprehensive. So I was trying to locate where are those portions which are specifically written about startups. And I discovered that I have to read it all because startups are like an integral part of it, right? So maybe please comment on this, well, startup ecosystem, startups being clearly a priority, one of the priorities for Rita, right? So what kind of maybe vision you have in this regard? Why startups are so important? Yeah, what is your maybe bet and hope for that?
Well, when we were coming up with the sectors, and as you mentioned, there are 6 of them, the priority sectors where we want to attract investment, we basically thought of 2 things. First of all, where do people of Riga will benefit the most? So where we can create high-paid jobs as much as possible in short period of time, so people of Riga would benefit. And secondly, how can we make sure that our job benefits Riga and Riga budget as such? And Riga budget, sorry for being boring, consists of 2 taxes, which is personal income tax and real estate tax. So we looked at the sectors where we can fulfill those 2 targets, and also where Riga has some kind of track record, because it's easy to speak about some buzzwords. We want to be, I don't know, go to the space or something, but you need to have some background, some track record. You need to have some talents behind that, and et cetera, et cetera. So this is how we ended up with those 6 sectors, including startup ecosystem. Up to now, I must say that the biggest work have been done was actually more in the sphere of supporting the ecosystem for different funds and programs. And this year, I'm not really sure, but I think the budget is still not near to what I would expect it to be when it comes to supporting the ecosystem, but it's much more than it used to be in Riga. And this is where we're actually in a very good moment, guys. This is for all of you who is pushing for the ecosystem, because the budgeting process starts soon. So this is the time to push that Riga and other public institutions would invest more. But basically, I think we created 4 or 5 different programs this year, and we're testing them out. We're looking how do they work, what's the feedback from the industry, but most importantly, how the industry actually uses it. And then we can, going forward, we can select the programs we believe are most effective and are supporting the sector in the best way.
Right, and I really appreciate how actually, I mean, I'm being part of this discussion all the time with you guys, including other organizations. So I appreciate how you really do that in a bottom-up way, in constant consultation with us. What would work? Let's try to experiment. Let's try to guess, not just cascading stuff from the in a top-down approach. And here it is, take it or leave it. Or that's really good.
Because I was on the other end when I was managing a company, and we were trying to use some funds which were publicly presented as things that are going to solve a lot of issues and creates lots of jobs. But when you actually ask your lawyers and your managers to go into that, you realize that doesn't work because of some conditions.
Exactly. So helps having those, 2 perspectives at the very least too, right? And then just a follow-up question. You mentioned, about this maybe bigger ultimate goal, and fair enough, of attracting more investments to Riga, right? And then spotting those priority areas which you could use as a, well, use maybe is not the right word, but leverage to, to get the results. So back to investments in a way. So couldn't help noticing, maybe also because I'm part of it. On September 6th, there was the official launch of the, in English that would sound the Riga Investors Consultative Council, right? So maybe could you explain what exactly is this working group, let's call it, is going to do, and how it relates also maybe to startup ecosystem, because startup ecosystem is represented there, which I'm also happy about.
Well, I have two targets with that. Basically, we wanted to have a group of people who are respected and known in their respective fields, and those fields are the ones which we're focusing as a city in. For two reasons. First of all, those people being respected and having experience in those fields, they have a list of contacts. They know the events international, they know location advisor consultants, they know leaders of organizations, and then they can give us insight about their sectors, which basically build up our organization, our employee competence in specific industries. That's one thing. Secondly, and that kind of correlates with the previous topic about the funds. I don't want to build an organization where there are a bunch of public employees who are not really connected in any way to the sector, and they figure out different actions and strategies which are not really connected with the real life. So I hope that this organization or this council, which is a bit fancy name, but yes, a work group is a nicer way to put it, helps us both in terms of being connected to the private sector, but also in terms of knowledge and different connections in the respective fields.
Right. So yeah, once again, I think that's probably the first time, at least I see the Riga City Council and now the agency as well being so grassroots in a way, you know, or we're trying to.
And I'm especially grateful we got a really great bunch of people we're very lucky. And as the mayor opened up this event and he said, and this probably message to everyone, we're very sorry that we're 20 years late, but it's better now than never.
That's a wonderful way to start, yeah. So we have now briefly touched upon startup ecosystem, investments. I have one more aspect to discuss, and then we perhaps will be, well, not perhaps, but we will be wrapping up, right? So that's the question I ask really a lot of people, and that's one of the biggest pain points here in Latvia, that's talent, right? And in a way, it's very sensitive, especially now, especially given the war in Ukraine, but even looking inwards, we just don't have enough, you know, we don't have enough students who are choosing this path, and would you have a hack to suggest? Can we somehow be leveraging, guys, you and what you intend to do to actually at least partially address this, so talent? How do we have more? And
I've been involved in this topic in some capacity way before I've joined Riga, but I wish there was a hack which you could explain in one or two sentences. This is what you need to do. But I mean, every discussion I have with potential investor who is coming to Riga, 80–90% of my conversations with them are around talent. Most of them don't care even how much how much this talent costs, or almost anything, except whether we can get the talent here. We have several recent entries to Latvia, and one of them is a Swiss service company. And they said, we're not coming to Latvia to save cost. We're coming to Latvia because we don't have any talents in Switzerland anymore. So we don't care how much it costs. And this, I think, is a major switch compared to, let's say, 15 years ago when different companies outsourced their operation to Latvia, where it was very much cost focused. Now it's very much talent focused. So this is an extremely critical topic, I would say, for Riga, because if we don't have talent, I have nothing to sell. If I'm the sales guy here, I need a product that I'm selling, right? And well, first of all, we did from Riga perspective, I specifically added this to my strategy that talent availability in the city is a key topic when it comes to investment environment. And this might sound a bit bureaucratic, but this is extremely important that I have it in my strategy and the city council actually voted for the strategy. So I'm actually allowed to work on that. Because the problem on national level is that this problem is not really anywhere officially acknowledged. And while it's not acknowledged officially somewhere, the task is not given to someone to work on it.
So the bureaucrats cannot start actual work, right?
And we're
like
discussing...
an elephant in the room. Everybody knows we don't have enough, but nobody can do much about it.
Yeah, and I feel like yesterday I was on a physical event in regards to this topic, and we were in a panel discussion, and everyone is on the same board, but I feel like we're just coming together as FISL or startup representatives where everyone is on the same page, but we need some guys in this room who are making policy and who might be against. But one thing that we're doing from Riga perspective is now we're building a platform, a website called Work in Riga. Basically, the idea is that it should connect existing investors or employers in Latvia to potential talent abroad. So we're going to market that website all around the place. We still figure out which countries we should go, because obviously historically it was a lot of talent was coming from Russia, Ukraine, Belarus, which is now not the case. So I explored also what Lithuania is doing, Helsinki, and some other cities around. So there's some interesting ideas on exploring new markets. But then my second part, and this is mostly kind of a marketing tool, right? To start positioning Riga as a place for global talent. But my second part is, and this is my dream, which I'm not kind of, I cannot say when it will come into reality, is building one-stop agency for highly skilled talent. The easier way to understand it is, imagine now Riga have refugee centers for Ukrainian refugees, right? It's a place where you come in and you receive all the services you needed from both national level and municipal level in one place. So this is where we redesign the process, make it easier, make it faster, simpler for people actually to come to the country. But for that, I need also the national level to be on the same page with me.
Right. We would be happy to help as well in this process, because, you know, one-stop shop has become a buzzword. Everybody's talking about it. Haven't ever seen it really happen in a successful way. Well, aside from the refugee centers, but that serves an entirely different purpose, right? Well, guys, how do you like it so far? Yes, we are wrapping up. Thank you. It was sweet and short. Please remember this face and this person, Fredis, right? So we will definitely see more of you. And we have even a question, right? Are you sure it's short?
I feel it's pretty short.
Well, okay, I will just, share my mic, but make it short.
So, talking about talent acquisition, what is your opinion on implementing more school programs with speakers and workshops for kids and teenagers to engage with, a career idea earlier than high school or college?
I'm just trying to understand the question. So basically, trying to help decide on career for kids before school, or
helping them acknowledge a career choice, or provoking that idea so they start thinking about it earlier than high school, because most people start to think about it after high school, or the earliest at the start.
I'm not an education expert, but I would say that's probably a good idea, because when I was working in Evry, we really required people who speak, for example, Norwegian language, and we have some schools in Latvia who are actually teaching Norwegian. So there is budget, there are teachers, and etc. But when we try to approach those kids, and it was like grade 10, 11, so pretty much grown-ups already, they had absolutely no idea how unique the knowledge in Norwegian is for labor market in Latvia, and how can they actually use that. So they were not really motivated in learning the language, but they were in extremely unique position compared to a lot of different schools across Latvia where you cannot get that knowledge. So I guess that this example probably is across different disciplines, and I think probably it's a good idea.
Thank you. We were not supposed to have questions, so sorry about that. An ambush from the audience. I love it, the engagement. So thank you so much. A round of applause for Fredis. Thank you. And next up, we will have a fireside chat with James Berdigans, the founder and CEO of Printify. And to chat with James, I would invite Andris Berzinch back on stage. So we have Andris.
James, welcome. So we're going to start with the question of why James is wearing a tie today. Because I can assure you when he met his co-founder Artis just about dropped dead seeing James in a tie.
Thank you for pointing it out. It's today is Printify's 7-year birthday. It's a very important day for us. 7 years. It's a lot has happened in your life at the age of 7. You have probably just graduated from the kindergarten. The big life of the first grade is ahead of you, so we are very excited.
Fantastic. Congratulations. It's a big milestone. So maybe we'll actually start with some background on Printify for those who don't know the company that well. Maybe you can give the very brief, what the company does, how big, the funding round last year, etc.
Happy to do that. Thank you for asking. So Printify, we are a platform that connects large-scale on-demand manufacturers all around the world, primarily in the United States, with tens of thousands of merchants on Shopify, Etsy, WooCommerce, Squarespace, and so on, that are selling those products for profit, and we help them to make their lives easier. Last year we raised $50 million from Index Ventures and a few other great investors, including Virgin, Richard Branson's investment arm, H&M, the clothing company. And the team is now over 600 people, and that does not include any of the production, as we do not produce anything ourselves. So that is the core team of product development, marketing, customer support, and so on, located across Europe.
Fantastic, thank you. And this is exactly what Fredis was talking about on the previous panel, about the kind of companies that he wants to attract to Riga and to help grow here, because most of those people are based here in Riga. And we're also very happy as Change Ventures to have been able to join that round and invest. And so there are many topics we could cover with James. We have a very short time, so I wanted to pick a very specific one, which was in a role as CEO, you want someone who can advise you, because the CEO is in some sense the loneliest role in the company, because every one of those 599 people is looking at you for direction and vision and all sorts of things, and your investors on the other side are taking the whip out that you do more and more and more. And so wanted to pick on the topic of advisors and people that are helping you as a CEO decide what to do, when to do it, how to do it, why to do it, all of these questions. So maybe if you can tell a little bit about what kind of people are the advisors that you're talking to, trying to get help in figuring out how to run the business. How did you get them? You can start there.
I will start by saying I think building a startup is probably one of the most challenging things you can do in your life. I have a lot of respect for everyone who is building their own startup or is a part of a startup. It's a roller coaster and a ton of work. And for founders, my advice is not to shy away from using coaches, and also especially psychotherapists. Maybe there is in Latvia a bit of negative association with that, but it's absolutely fine, and it's an incredibly challenging experience to go through building your own company, a startup. And it's helpful to have a professional that can help you in those difficult situations. I had one myself when I was in San Francisco. And so do it. It's helpful. It's as Andrew said, it can be lonely sometimes, especially if you don't have a co-founder. I was lucky to have 2 co-founders. That was very helpful. And the other thing about the mentors or coaches, I and the Printify team have been very lucky from the very beginning that we had very high caliber investors. My personal mentor is a guy called Gokul Rajaram, who was part of the Google early team, building the Google AdSense tool, then leading Facebook advertising network, and incredibly smart, talented, positive person that has been helping me throughout this journey. And so that's my recommendation, is to, especially for the first money, do not optimize for the valuation, optimize for the people that you can get on your cap table. The value you will get out of really smart people in the long term will be much greater than the initial valuation that you could squeeze out.
So how do you go about finding these people? So not everyone has access to Gokul, but or rather, there's a reason you did. So maybe you can give some thoughts about how you go about finding these people.
I did not. The answer or my suggestion is just hustle. We were part of 500 Startups Accelerator in San Francisco. We went to 50 different investors and we got exactly 50 no. It was like, thank you very much, interesting, come back to us when you have more traction. And Gokul was one of them. I remember him saying, and an additional story, how he got to the Gokul. I never had met him. I didn't know him. I didn't even really know who he is. What we did, me and my co-founders, we went through the LinkedIn profiles of our mentors in the accelerator, looked at all the high caliber people or investors that they had, and banged on their door and asked, hey, can you please make an introduction to all those 20 people? And they would be, well, I can't do 20, but I can do 7 out of the list. So we became quite annoying over time, but we at least got the introductions. Introductions doesn't mean that you will get an investor closed, but our experience also with Gokul was that he considered investment, said, interesting, but you need a bigger investor. And we didn't get any investor back then. We borrowed money, we kept working hard. And a year later, when we had reached break even, we pinged Gokul and he was so impressed that we have reached break even with that little resources that he was like, all right, I will give you the first 100K investment. And if you do well, I will follow up with more. And that's what we did. And I recommend every one of you to really try every opportunity. You really don't know how it will turn out.
Okay, so hustle, and go back to those who heard Rolands from Nordigan earlier say brute force it, right? So work hard and brute force it. But so let's say you get someone who's a very useful advisor and mentor. How often do you call on them? Do you reschedule updates? How do you think about making sure you get the advice when you need it?
Especially if you get a very experienced or high caliber investor, remember that their time is the most valuable asset that they have. And usually they are very selective about where they invest their time. That has been my experience. And especially when, and it can be different. It can be different. For example, now that from the recent investors that have invested, they are more open to having regular meetings and check-ins and support. With other investors, the earlier investors, they were very selective and they prefer that when you have a real problem, come to us, often via email, and we will help you to provide our guidance, what we can recommend. And that is, in my experience, it has been incredibly helpful. Sometimes there are like these difficult decisions that you have to make, and you don't have anyone to ask. And if you can ask somebody who has done it 3 times or even more, it's really, really helpful to make the decision and feel good about the decision you are making.
Okay, and so so now you've got further down the journey. You have a whole bunch of people, not just Gokul, who you go to for advice. So how do you think about that? Is that like certain people at certain topics you would bring to certain advisors? How are you sort of thinking about not just one, but a bunch of people that you get involved?
Well, soon after, when you have the initial investors, you will understand who is best at which area, if it's product development, if it's engineering, if it's marketing. And so just use their skill sets and approach them appropriately on where they are the strongest.
Okay, cool. So I think, is Olga here? Do we have time for one question? Is Olga, we have time for one question. Does anyone want to pose one question to James while we have him here? There is a hand over there.
Hi, yeah, thanks for the discussion. It's really valuable, and I really admire James. You're doing a really great job. Maybe I missed that, but at the beginning you said about those 15 no's when you were in USA. Do you had the same idea about that you're doing now, or you pivoted that afterwards? Thanks.
Thank you for the kind words. You're too kind. I will say it's similar in every fundraising round. Realistically, you only need one good yes. Preferably, you have several ones so you can create competition and fear of missing out for the investors and get the price up. But it's relatively similar, and I would say that you have to have pretty big pool to pitch to people, because you never know who will be in the right situation, who has money, who has comfort with the industry that you are, who is excited about the direction industry that you are investing. So you need to approach pretty big pool, and that's what we also did in the last fundraising round. That we had a very solid list of investors that we approached.
Okay, thank you. Yes, I already grabbed the mic after the question. So is that a wrap? It's a wrap. So thank you so much, James, Andres. A round of applause. Thank you for making time. I know today was particularly tricky. Thank you. All right, guys, I'll be walking down this, and sitting, getting into the chair of a moderator to wrap up this fireside chat series with just one more. So last but not least, I would invite on this stage Martin Benkitis, if you could join me, please, who is CEO and co-founder of Gravity Team. Right. Thank you for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me.
Right. How are we feeling?
Yeah, good.
Good. Some people are scared to talk to me, so I always try to, make them feel welcome. So, in the first fireside chat, we established that I'm a complete stalker. And of course, I was going through your Facebook page. And then I established one more thing, that we have one very big thing in common, which is Southeast Asia and our love towards Southeast Asia. I lived in the Philippines for 7 years. I realized that you have a special connection with this region. Why? How come? Tell me, please.
Absolutely. Thailand is my second home or first home, or I have two homes. I went there at the end of my studies in Netherlands, and it was a study exchange where I flew. It was at the end of my studies, and I had a kind of plan to actually hitchhike back to Latvia at the end of the study exchange. But I fell in love with the country so much that after I was already on my way in Myanmar, and I came out from a meditation retreat, and my head was so clear. And after experiencing the 4 months in Bangkok and Thailand, and all the friends I met, all the people I met, it was clear to me that my heart was over there. So I went back, and I spent 5 years over there, and truly loved that place. Made a beautiful connection with the people around, and yeah, will forever have a special place there.
Beaches.
The beaches, the food, the people, their mindset, the way they look at things, positivity, compassion, so many things. That I learned from there, and not only like cultural wise, I tried to learn from the Buddhist culture, of course, but also that's the place where we started the business and where we saw the opportunities as well. So there was a lot to learn from there, and I think it's great to mix things. Like it's great to put yourself into conditions and places where other people might that are similar to you are not likely to put themselves in. In this way, you can kind of create a bit more different mixes of experiences that can also give birth of more unique ideas.
Here. I do agree that region is like a magnet, and life, it actually teaches you to appreciate life, because life for many people there is quite simple yet fulfilling. So, and so it got you inspired that much, that you came back to Latvia and co-founded Gravity Team, or a little bit about how Gravity Team kicked off, and also if I may add to that, by now Gravity Team I would say is very well known in the crypto industry, if I may call it crypto industry. It's not a very sophisticated way, right? But for a usual average, let's say maybe citizen of Latvia, you would not be that known. So maybe once you also talk about how you guys started, also can you elaborate a little bit on what you do, but in such a way that even the grandma in Bauska, who is watching live stream, also also gets it.
Yeah. So the idea, the Gravity Team was actually incepted by me and my best friend Edgar's. While we were distant from each other, it was back in 2017 when I was living in Thailand and Edgar's was living in Barcelona, and those were the roaring times of crypto. Like was a previous bull market, and the bull market before this bull market, that was the recent one. And basically the prices of we noticed living abroad and separately that Bitcoin in Thailand was costing like $21,000. Whereas in Europe it cost 17, and it was nuts. Like my mom was coming over to visit me, and I was like, "Hey, mom, let me handle the currency exchange because I just got some euros in Europe and bought some Bitcoin, send it over, and cash out." And basically, then you see, wow, that suddenly you get an exchange rate that's 25% bigger, and
so you exploit the opportunity, right?
Yeah, but then you ask like why is it there? Why there's such kind of market anomaly existing, and what can you do about it? And then we started to study this. Me and Edgar's, we were like very excited, uplifted about it, and we really studied this phenomena, try to understand why it exists, what are the forces that enable it, and then realize, okay, this actually creates a very new setting in the markets that has not been before. So even like a guy from Goldman Sachs or JP Morgan, whatever, or big HFT3 trading firm, it would be something new for him as well. And when you realize that you are at the brink of something very, very new, then you also understand that you are a level playing field right now. And that's what we felt, and we knew that, hey, we are at this point where there's a new market, a new demand has been born, and let's try to solve it. And that got us really excited, and then that we put all our heads and attention to it. That was how Gravity Team was born. Like the initial, it was not called Gravity Team, and then we called ourselves CryptoBot. Like we just had to call our Slack channel like something, But that was like the root of how we started.
That was a powerful rebranding then. I mean, I love Gravity Team.
Yeah. And then basically that's how it started. And then after a while, I moved back to scale up the business and be in one place with my founder and Edgar's. But what Gravity Team is in simple terms, well, I'll use, I guess, potatoes. So let's imagine everyone loves potatoes, and there are people that want to want to eat them, right? And there's many cities across the country, like, okay, we have, I don't know, Zilupe, we have, I don't know, Iecava, and all these people want to buy potatoes, but maybe they're not growing them. So what Gravity Team does is, like, we open shops in Iecava, Zilupe, Aknīste, Viesīte, Nereta, or whatever, all these cities, and we offer to buy and sell potatoes. And maybe some people can sell potatoes, but then maybe they don't have, but maybe they want to buy carrots, so we also do that. So we're just guys that open shops in all these small cities. In crypto case, these are exchanges across the world, across many places, and we quote to buy and sell crypto assets. And then we have trucks that are sending these potatoes and carrots across the cities, making sure that there's supply and that the supply is satisfied across the markets. So basically, that's what we do. We just sell a lot of carrots and move them around.
Yeah, but then a follow-up question: what is the total monetary value of carrots and potatoes you turn over in a year, for instance? Because I know it's a lot of zeros there. Just to understand, how big are the guys?
Yeah, those numbers are pretty high because there's huge turnover. So I think to date we have the systems that we have worked on have maybe created volume of upwards to $100 billion, something like that. But yeah, it's like around 0.8 to 1% of all the spot trading of crypto markets.
Globally,
yeah.
Exactly. Right. So then the question would be, so here we have you, for instance, a big player, in the industry. And then if we zoom into Latvia, maybe Baltics, if you would like to comment on that, right? So when we look at the crypto industry here, so I don't know, would you say that there are other big players, not so many? How is the crypto ecosystem? Maybe we want to use a word, right? Are you guys organized? Are you guys working together? Not so much. I do know that, some of crypto people, again, if I can call them that, are quite low profile. They don't like the spotlight and stuff like that. But is there an ecosystem which perhaps we don't know about?
Yeah, I think up until like every company in crypto is a bit different, but yeah, some people try to tend to stand low profile. Some people try to say, yeah, be more outwards looking. For us, our business is actually very global, and the things that we do, we don't really have clients per se. It's just a company that trades, and so yeah, like often. Until some point, there was not much need to actually have a front end to go out and find customers and so on. And that might be the case for some other businesses as well, that they are very much globally focused instead of locally focused. But I think, yeah, right now things are starting to change because I think community is quite an important thing. Like, you want to be together with like-minded people. So we're also trying to create some kind of community of crypto businesses in Latvia. And there are actually quite a lot of companies that are doing great things over here. You have NextPay, you have Coliseum, you have Hodl, you have Paybiz. There are quite some people here. So actually, I would say that for as small as a country as we are, we do have people that are pushing for exciting initiatives around.
Right, and then, okay, what I hear is that the community is growing stronger because maybe there is this awareness of the need to be together, because you can do more, you can do better. So what would you say the crypto future of Latvia, and in the context of this new community being born, what do you strive to achieve? What do you maybe don't be afraid to be daring and visionary? We understand many things still have to happen, but what would be your dream for Latvia in terms of crypto?
Yeah, so the thing about crypto is that for the industry to go to the next level, and to boost adoption further, we believe that regulation has to play hand in hand. You cannot all be hiding in the shades and expecting to become mainstream. So yeah, and therefore, I think regulation has to play a big role here, and there's both kinds of actors in this industry, and it can police only that much itself, I believe, and there's a lot of things that can be done, and there's a lot of things already being done. For example, from the European Union side, they're implementing this MiCA directives that will actually govern crypto, and this will actually present a chance for every country in European Union to either adopt it and actually be very forward-looking and bring in a lot of crypto businesses from all around the world to have access to European markets, or to not adopt it and keep exporting wood or carrots.
Or potatoes.
Or potatoes, yeah. So yeah, I think this presents an opportunity, and I think Latvia has an opportunity to do something about it as well, and I think we should, and I think this is our chance to find our niche in the global landscape, and that's what we are actually advocating for, and trying to create awareness with the global public, with the regulators, educate them about crypto, and also try to push forward some kind of interesting aspects of crypto legislation that we think might help both for the society and also for the industry itself. I mean, to me, one of the most exciting things that I think would really benefit everyone, and it's also something that hasn't been done much anywhere else in the world, except for few cantons in Switzerland, is actually accepting crypto as a means of paying tax. And this will be kind of like the shortest and most catchy signal from the top of the government to say, hey, the rest of the world, we invite all of the crypto businesses to come over here and to build. We welcome you. We think we want to work with you. We want to sort out the problems together. And also there's a lot of gain for governments as well, because they just would have another way how to collect taxes, and which government doesn't love to collect taxes, right? So
yeah, that's a very good question. So just to recap for you guys, right? So at some point soon enough, for the Latvian government, it will be like a pivoting point in a way, or rather a decision would need to be made, right? So either we adopt, it's no longer a choice. They would need to adopt something, because at the EU level, it's being decided that the MiCA, the regular, which basically regulates the crypto and what was that, capital assets, right? I don't remember
like
what
that.
MiCA was.
Not a liar.
Exactly. So and there would be two choices. One is just to do something for the sake of doing, because it's demanded by the EU, and we don't really care if it works or not, just, check. And the second option would be to actually do something meaningful, and with that attract quite a lot of business to Latvia, quite a lot of investments. So two options, right? Right now, I understand you're trying to push for the second, if we're doing that, might as well do something cool.
Exactly. It's similar like what Lithuania did with
Banking.
Recently in the fintech industry with EMIs and giving out licenses. I mean, they got a lot of businesses over there, and I think we can look at it from many perspectives, but they're definitely bringing a lot of business and money and taxpayers' money over there, and so I think we also have our chance to find our niche.
Right. And then I have a little poll question for the audience, we will vote. Do you believe that the Latvian government will go the first way, meaning to say they will just do the meh job and just, adopt something for the sake of adoption? Or you think it's option 2, where we will do something meaningful and something really cool, like Lithuania did with banking licenses and whatnot? So option 1, we will do meh. Alrighty, and option 2, we will do cool. Yeah, okay. I also believe that.
Let's have some faith.
Great.
Yeah.
But Martin, do you see we do have a concern here, because there's also a big portion of people who might not necessarily believe that, right? And now maybe refocusing back to the government, my next question would be, Do you believe that there is enough competence, understanding of crypto? I mean, everybody speaks about it, but do they really understand? That's one, the knowledge and understanding. Second would be trust. And trust, I believe, is something which is very hard to build and very easy to lose. You know, we speak about how crypto can be monitored and actually traced and whatnot, if need be. But then we have a Baltic Honey Badgers conference recently, just last week or something. And one keynote comes with a presentation and a slide, money laundering is beautiful. And I guess at that time, all the bankers who might secretly attend that, they have a heart attack. So how do you build trust? Yes, and please comment on the level of expertise according to you. Yeah.
Also, first about honey badger, well, crypto has grown to such a big industry that it already has a lot of subsets of like different sub-industries within crypto. So honey badger is very much a Bitco pro maxi libertarian conference like that. Is kind of maybe not that much planning to play hand in hand with governments, but yeah, they're different subsets. Let's put it like that. But it's great that they're there because they really brought a lot of very smart people that have pushed the adoption and technology far, and it was exciting to be there. But in terms of competence, well. Crypto is complicated, and it's not like everyone has to understand everything 100%. And even I don't understand crypto 100% as well. Like I don't know everything about everything. I just focus on the things that I can add value on. And I think in the same way, also government should try to look at it in the same perspective. And for example, when we're talking about money laundering, and we actually are pretty good in anti-money laundering because of everything that happened in with the crackdown of like our banks like recently, right? So but these scandals about money laundering now, like Latvian banks are super tight, super conservative, and their anti-money laundering procedures across the country are really strict. And that's actually, in my opinion, a good thing because we probably have a lot of these experts from all around that actually know a lot about how to
prevent you from
distinguish good money from bad money, so to say. And if we have these experts, then why don't we actually put them to something that can create a unique competitive advantage, unique value for the whole country, and bring out these crypto regulations that and put people to actually work on it and create good framework where we know how to separate the good actors from the bad ones. We actually have a good position for that. So yeah, of course, the competence comes in many shapes, different shapes and forms, and there are some fields where we are good, and there are some fields where there's more education needed. And I think that education, that's what we all as a community, as a crypto community, should also be going for. We should educate people around and tell them more about this technology and what are the benefits and how it's different, and how you cannot like think with the same attitude how if you're looking at banking infrastructure on it. But yeah, I think it's just a continuous work, and we can definitely get there. And about the trust. Well, I think.
Well, those were crypto anarchists, I believe, who were, I mean, those big showy presentations, yeah.
Exactly, and I mean, trust can be built into the systems. Again, like you can, everything on crypto is very much transparent, and you can see where the assets have gone.
Yeah, it's like you don't need to like it, but you can trust it. A premise, right?
Yeah, and with this regulation that Mika is actually building out in Europe, they are building. They're trying to enhance the trust, and they're trying to create these gateways from, like, so to say, crypto to fiat, where this trust would be enforced. So I think that it's just like continuous work that needs to be done, and then you can get there. Yeah.
Okay, and to wrap this up, let's keep it sweet and short. What's in the future for Gravity team? Yeah.
Yeah, of course we have our kind of midterm goals where we focus on like things like market share and maybe improving efficiencies about how we distribute the carrots and potatoes around the world. But of course, we are in this for the technology. We love the industry in which we are because I think money is probably one of the most important inventions that ever, maybe after agriculture. I mean, imagine doing anything without money, right? It's like going to a doctor's and I don't know, you give him, and then maybe he wants, I don't know, a haircut, but you're not a barber, so.
But you're giving him potato.
yeah. So like, money spins the world around. Of course, we all know it, and there's also a kind of path how we can see how it evolved from times. It was, we used to do barter, we used to use gold, and now we have arrived to the point where like the best thing that we have found out is the fiat money that's basically governed by United States Fed, which is 70% of, basically 70-80% of all the trade in the world is done in dollars, because when you make a SWIFT transaction, whatever you send euros to, I don't know, Thai baht or whatever, it actually exchanges through dollar in between. So we live in this kind of world, and that's the best thing that we have found out so far, right? And it really is the best. We don't know of anything better. But knowing that money is such an important part of our daily lives and such an important invention for the whole human civilization, I'm very excited that I'm part of the crypto industry, because that's where you can actually bring money forward. And we have a lot of ideas of how to build better money for everyone in the world. I mean, when you go to Philippines and then like you suddenly see, oh, everything is so cheap here, nice, so I can live here and I can spend less. This is actually a bug in the existing system. Like, it's not supposed to be like that. It's just that those people over there, they don't have access to the printer. So they're not so close to money printing like we are, for example, or even closer that people in States are. And it just creates, all these bugs in the system, and there's so much improvement that can be done, and so much value that can be added. And crypto is going there, and that's what we are also, that crypto could be the solution for it, and that's what we are also investing, spending our time on. Is not only we are being part of this current infrastructure where we are moving carrots around, but we are also, of course, continuously thinking and conceptualizing how we can design better money, and also looking for ways how we can invest in these kind of projects that focus around that.
Okay, cool. And I believe that would be a wrap. I guess I would allow just one question if we have, because just to be fair to all other speakers, I will leave you on stage and will pass the microphone.
Thank you. I'm asking from like a startup side. So for a lot of people, entrepreneurs or a startup, like when they go through the new market, they have a lot of concern about legalization and like legislations. Especially you enter into the punk market that didn't have a lot of background to get advices. And you also talked about it, you still face it. So how did you manage these risks? Especially you went to different countries which have different legalizations, which you have no idea.
Well, basically, we also started our business. One of our first markets was actually Thailand, where I used to live. And from there, I could get a good glimpse of like what is going on. And actually talk to the people, understand the regulation. It's just you do your research, you do your due diligence. Oftentimes you speak out to external lawyers to get their opinion. It just takes a little bit of research around, and then you understand what's possible, what's not possible. But the landscape in crypto is changing a lot. Like what was legal one day suddenly can be illegal in the next day. So you have to be able to react dynamically and adjust your setup and to make sure that you are doing everything according to the law.
Thank you so much. Yes, let's not break any laws. Thank you, Martin. Round of applause.